Welcome to All Things Well, where we make wellness practical for every day. I'm Tamara Jackson, your host. Here we explore wellness in all forms: emotional, physical, spiritual, financial, creative, and relational, through conversations that inform, inspire, and encourage. Because being well isn't one thing, it's all the things. Today, I'm joined by Yetunde Araromi. We started out as neighbors, became friends, and now consider ourselves as sisters. We had our boys in the same school, and over time have discovered another shared reality. We're both parenting while living with autoimmune disease. Yetunde lives with Dress syndrome, and I live with rheumatoid arthritis. What began as passing conversations between us has grown into a deeper dialogue about what it really means to parent while navigating chronic illness. Today, we're making space for that conversation. So we've both lived with autoimmune disease for a while now. But when you introduce yourself, how do you usually talk about it?
So I think at one point, I was talking about it in past tense, but then I've had some emergencies recently that kind of reminded me that it's still very much part of my present. So how do I introduce it? It's like a family member that you don't really want around, but they're just there.
Mm.
It's
Definitely
kind of a part of the package,
Yeah. Do you remember the very first time that family member came up and you realized your health was going to affect the way you parent?
I think the first time I realized that my medical condition impacted my parenting was my ability to drive was taken away due to seizures. And so I was not able to drive. And then it shifted what options I had available for my son. I needed to find a place that I could get to easily via foot or Uber, something that, I knew that no matter what my condition was, I wanted my son to have enrichment in the summertime. I wanted him to be able to attend the summer program. But not being able to drive and with his dad traveling for work, that created a dynamic that made me realize that this is not something that can just kind of be, like I have to plan around it. And so when I said family member, I love my family members. They're amazing. But I was just using that analogy for, having to deal with a situation that you didn't plan for a long visit. All of us have had family members that come and visit and you start wondering like, okay, when are you going to leave? And, as children, my house was always open and we always had visitors. So sometimes that one uncle or aunt that was just coming for a weekend is still here a week later. So that's kind of how I saw my autoimmune disease. But then how it showed up in my parenting was it impacted the choices that I had for my son and also impacted, okay, where am I actually going to live? And so I kind of made a decision to stay where things are near. There's a grocery store within walking distance from me. There's a pharmacy within walking distance from me. There's a childcare center within walking distance from me. There's a gym within walking distance. So those limitations impact how I parent in terms of the choices that my son has access to. And that's something that you don't think about until you have a limitation placed on you.
I appreciate what you just shared. Immediately this whole thing about proximity came to mind as I listened to you. If I was answering that question, for me, it was, since I dealt so much with fatigue, like this fatigue that is not even, I don't know that there are adequate words to describe, especially in the beginning. And I remember my son coming in the room and saying, "Mommy, why are you sleeping so much?"
Wow.
And so that proximity, staying with that word, that proximity where
I could be near him and still couldn't be present because I was so tired. And that just broke me. Because there is nothing that I could do. There was no willing this away, right? There was no, especially as women, so often we are required, expected to have push through, whatever that is, right? There was no stick-to-itiveness in this world that was going to get me past that fatigue. So just being able to gather words to speak to my son, even though his words brought me so much sorrow, which was never his intention, but I just remember that very clearly.
But that was his reality.
Yeah. It was our reality, right? Because we don't go through these sicknesses alone, right? Even though, let's be clear, we feel very alone in it sometimes, right? I think we can agree with that. We feel very, very alone in it sometimes. So I guess that leads me to another question that I have for you. How did your diagnosis change the way you saw yourself, not just as a person, but as a parent?
All right. So part of this diagnosis, it had like two effects, if I could say that. On one hand, I felt like, I wish you would, right? Like I've already been through this thing, right? So like there's this kind of African colloquialism where we say, are you with your father? I'm not your mate, right? So it's more of, I've already been through this hell. There's nothing that anybody can do to me. Like I've already died. Like if you're not Lazarus, like we don't have nothing to talk about. So there's a level of, I wish you would, because if everything that I've been through didn't take me out, there's nothing that's going to take me out. But then there's also a part of me that's like, was kind of like upset with myself. Like, how could this thing happen? Like, how could I succumb to this thing? Like, this thing that I'm calling, right? Yes, there's a diagnosis, right? I have multiple diagnoses, right? But how could this thing, like, beat me up? How did I take that L? So on the one hand, I feel like, do your best. What are you going to do to me? There's nothing anybody can actually do to me. Like, my heart stopped. Like, top that. So my boss that is complaining about a report, top that. My heart failed. I don't care about your report. Like,
you're talking about priorities, right?
Like you get the grades when I put them in. Like I'm not.
Oh, it definitely changes your priorities. Absolutely.
Right. So on the one hand, I feel like I should be bumping Kanye's Champion. Like, do you realize that I'm a champion? Right. And on the other hand, it's like, I always wonder, what could I have done to prevent it? What stresses did I take on that led me down this path? And was there anything that I could have done to hold it off longer? But also now, what is it that I'm doing that's taking me back there? That is taking me back to the worst part of my illness, that my worst day in which I'm in the hospital. So what did I do to get there? Right? And yeah, autoimmune, my understanding is those ailments are there, but you need the perfect combination of the storm. And usually for many people, that perfect combination involves stress before everything comes to a head.
There's, like you said, there's data behind that.
Right.
And definitely even when you get your diagnosis, stress exacerbates it, right? Exactly. Stress will bring on a flare and a spiral and, like you said, a hospitalization and everything else in between. So absolutely. It's almost like, I liken it to looking at yourself in a mirror. And at one point you're looking at yourself just to see if you're all right, making sure your clothes are okay, your makeup's okay, or whatever the situation is. Your eyebrows are not drawn on, lopsided or anything like that. But sometimes I look in the mirror and I look like myself, but I know that person is gone.
Wow. And so do you want to get that person back? So that's the question.
Well, that's a great question, because that is the double-edged sword of, I think, a diagnosis like autoimmune disease or any other chronic illness. When you ask, do I want that person back? I don't, to some degree, right? So I don't want, like you brought up your boss and stuff, I don't want the hustle and bustle of life. Mm-hmm. I don't want the unnecessary stress, right? I don't want the overwhelm or, overextending of myself.
Right.
I don't even want the superwoman motif anymore,
but
right?
But autoimmune forces that.
Well, exactly. I just hope
for you to be able to live, you have to embrace that superwoman.
No.
To an extent.
I hear where you're going. Hear me out in my analogy of the superwoman, right? For me, I gladly have put that cape down, because I realized that I didn't need to be superwoman to be a superwoman.
But for you, that cape, was that self-sacrificing? What was that cape?
That cape was a whole lot of things. It was not only self-sacrificing.
Self-sabotaging.
I don't even know if it was self-sabotage, at least not purposely, right? It definitely was, I am, for years, right? I always say I had this Jobian experience, right? So for 19 years, when my mother couldn't show up, I was that person, right? The parentified child, right? I'm the oldest. I'm going to take care of everybody else. It doesn't matter if that means debt and, again, overwhelm and my, constantly being exposed to trauma, but not having space to process it and, or to feel what was really coming up for me, right? Because I'm up here just putting out fires. Right. So that's why I say, for me, I realized that I didn't have to be superwoman to be a superwoman. And even though my diagnosis came years after all of that.
But it accumulates. The body keeps the count.
Exactly. The body keeps score, just like the book says, right? And there's this whole group of research that says how adverse childhood experiences really lead to autoimmune disease and other chronic illnesses. So absolutely, we are the sum of our experiences, right? And so for me, no, I don't want her back, but I do wish I had the part of me that had that energy and had that vibrancy about me, and it didn't take this to slow her down. It almost is like my body was like, okay, you won't slow down? Let me show you something.
I got to tell you something real quick.
Yeah. Let me show you something real quick, right? And so I don't want her back, no, but I do wish I had
the
energy, because my life is so much not like that. And when all of this came and manifested.
But when you say that, I have a hard time believing that. And why do I have a hard time believing that? Not that I think that you're a liar.
No, I got you.
But Bade, you and I are friends. Like, we've known each other for a while. And we have raised our boys together. We are still raising our boys together. Bade's 10th birthday, none of the men got up there and climbed the top. Right? And so when you say you don't have that.
Oh, you're talking about at the, where were we? We were at not the jungle gym, but the whole.
It's not a jungle gym, it's an adult gym.
No, I know. It was more like almost not Survivor.
Iron Peak. It's called Iron Peak.
Yeah.
And they have and you were suspended at least 30 feet in the air. Is it 30 feet?
Yeah.
Or more?
Climbing those pillars
Right. And you climbed up there.
Praying all the way.
And your husband was looking at you like, yeah, baby, power to you. Even my husband was looking at you like, all right, don't break nothing. Please don't break nothing. And so when you say you don't have that, I hear you. Because that happened after the period of the diagnosis. Fair. So I don't see that. And maybe I see you as I want to see you. Right?
I received that. But you see, when we were because you call my son your nephew and I call your son my nephew. We were at my nephew's birthday party. And he, for me, just like I feel with Jay, he deserved even the adults there to be full of joy and to celebrate with him. And for me, that is what I saw my crazy self breathing hard and praying all type of way as I tried to scale walls.
You did.
And
you didn't try. You successfully.
And that pillar, well, the walls, no, I fell down.
No.
But that other thing that didn't require me to hold on, on to, those plastic rocks or whatever they were. But yeah, I wanted, that's what I mean. That's why I say I wish I had that vibrant part of me consistently. Okay. Let me say it that way.
Okay, because when you said it's not there,
no,
it's there. She visits.
Yeah, she visits, but I don't want her to just visit. I want her to take residency, because I feel like not only for my son and my husband, but for myself, that I deserve. And I'm going to say that I am deserving to have space for full joy.
Right.
Where now my joy in the way I show up and, all of that, and have that energetic, right?
Even but my email
is attached to
energy. But I feel it. Even my birthday,
it's not.
Even
it's
my
not
birthday,
a challenge.
You showed up and you were ready, and we were like, you were standing most of the time. And when you're like, oh, I'm tired, and maybe you save your energy. I don't know if you're baking your energy for those events, and you're like, oh,
it's battery in my back. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. But when it matters, when it counts, I see you fully present with me, right? So like for my birthday party, we had so much fun. And you were running the whole thing, like even down to making sure the decorations were right before I got there. You took care of that. And I wasn't worried because I knew you were there. Not that I was putting my responsibility on. I was getting my makeup done. I was busy being a diva. But you were in there like a worker
bee. Which you deserved.
Making sure that everything was perfect. Mm-hmm. And that was beyond your responsibility. That was beyond anything expected or required of you. So when you say that person isn't there, I don't see that. I don't see it.
Then that's great. I received that.
And that's why maybe my vision of you is skewed, because I see you as I want to see you. But then you're giving me evidence that shows me this is still who you are.
Okay, I received that. Again, and they always say that the way others see us outside of ourselves is totally different. So I receive that. I won't even debate that. I receive that.
Okay.
I guess what I'm ultimately saying in so many ways is this whole notion of grief. Mm. So I ask you this: was there grief involved for you, for yourself and the future that you will have, but equally for the parent that you wanted to be?
I think my health started to deteriorate like long before the diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So long before the diagnosis came, the runs that I used to go on with Body when he was a baby and he was in the stroller, I wasn't doing that anymore. Physically, yes, I faced physical limitations because of the diagnosis, because of my health. So yeah, I do. And even now, right, like I kind of worry about the foods that I eat. I never know what's going to cause an allergic reaction. So a lot of times I'm still weary of invitations. I'm weary of going places. There are very few places that I will just pop, like you, I pop up on you. I feel comfortable doing that, right? But generally, I'm acutely aware of my condition. And so I'm not as fun as I would like to be. I don't do as much as I would like to do. And, I still have hundreds of dollars at Iron Peak, right? That's where Body had his birthday party. And I keep telling myself, yeah, we're going to go and climb. I've been climbing this mountain in my head, right? And I have hundreds of dollars to spend at the facility. But physically, I don't have what it takes. And that makes me sad because I've always had it like this idea, like, oh, I want to be that mom that's riding my bike. My son my husband, and we're riding, maybe 2 kids, and we're riding. But having gone through what I've gone through with my health, I don't know, 2 kids, that might be off the table. To even think about kids is not even something that I can, because I literally had a procedure a few weeks ago on my brain. So the idea of that, of expanding my family, or even being able to engage in those physical activities, going hiking with my son and my significant other, and doing that as a family of 3 or 4, I feel like that dream is gone, right? And the older I get, the further away it is. And that's why sometimes they say just leave good is good enough, right? Just let it just let it be.
Yeah, it's kind of like you have to reimagine. That's kind of a term that I use with my clients, right? Like, how can we reimagine what now in the future could look like?
But then it's also like, do I really want another kid? Or the idea of it not being a possibility is what I'm grieving? Because
it can be both. It can, both. I think there's space for both.
Because do I really want another kid? I love all the children I'm connected to, and I'm a teacher. I have plenty of FaceTime with children. I don't think that my life is devoid of children in any way. I could come here and take Jay for the weekend if I'm feeling like, oh my God, this one kid is not enough, and I need somebody saying Auntie Yetunde and Mom, Auntie Yetunde and Mom. If I want to hear both kids calling me, I can have them for the weekend. Is it that I really miss that, or the idea that it could potentially not be a possibility? But luckily, I still went and I had all the tests done, and they're like, your eggs are fine and this and that. And it's like, why am I putting myself through all of that? And they're like, well, but you're on these 2 medications, so if you decide. And that should not even be something that I'm thinking about. And I think as humans, we're kind of insatiable, right? We always are like, oh, well, maybe this could be better. But I do think that I think not feeling well has cost me a lot in relationships, but it's also revealed to me who people are. When you cannot help yourself,
yes,
and someone helps you,
yes,
you learn what help looks like.
Yes.
So yes, I feel like I lost friends, but they were never friends, or I lost relationships, but they were never good relationships to begin with. So like those parts feel sad, but the other part of me feels like you'll never get to know this me.
Yeah, loss. Got my tribe. That's how I always say it. Yeah, I got my tribe. And I'm cool with my tribe.
Right, because it's quality,
not quantity.
Right.
Absolutely. Especially because I ain't got no energy to continue.
We're not playing with people at this point.
No. Full stop.
Right.
Full stop. That's energy that I truly don't have.
Right.
Literally and figuratively. Seriously, literally and figuratively, I can't do this with you.
Right.
Even if I wanted to. And I don't want to.
We're not.
Right.
So that's the grief part, is that relationships are different. Physical limitations exist. And then also community engagement is not the same because the energy level is not there. I want to go visit tea rooms with you, sis. I want us to go have a spa day. I want us, in my mind, we're running around, eat, pray, sleep, whatever. What's the thing? We're
Eat, Sleep, Pray, I think it is. That book?
Yeah, we're floating around in Bali somewhere. We're doing those things and we're living fabulous lives. And where I'm like, oh, I'm going to call T. And I go upstairs to get my phone and I sit on the bed and I sleep. I wake up at 3:00 in the morning, oops, guess I didn't call T. Because the energy is just gone. And in my mind somewhere, we're on the beach somewhere and you see the Baywatch run. We're like,
I overstand it. I overstand it. I can't tell you how many days I have taken a shower, literally, in my warm, comfortable terry cloth robe. I will step out of the bathroom, step into my bedroom, sit on my side of the bed, and I'm out. In my bathroom, nothing, not a speck of oil on my skin, not a swipe of deodorant. So I get it. I get it. I overstand, as I like to say. What parts of parenting take most energy for you that people might not expect?
Honestly, it's my engagement with the outside world concerning my son. My son actually understands my situation. We kind of joke and I tell him, mommy's brain cells don't always hold hands, right? Like, mommy's brain right now is on dial-up. And sometimes he'll joke, he say, Mommy, is the Wi-Fi on? That's his way of asking me, like, Mom, you here? Like, can I come with what I'm coming with?
Yeah.
Or are we on dial-up?
Yeah. Do I got permission to approach?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not even parenting. It's the engagement with other people. Like, for example, school, right? When I get an email from a teacher who is emailing me just so we know that our tuition money isn't being wasted. And it's like, what you're complaining about is developmentally appropriate. I mean, T.
I understand. I got it.
And so it's like, I'm raising a Black boy in a white environment. And the way white women interact is not the way that Black women, African women interact. And so on the one hand, I feel it's my responsibility to keep my son safe. But on the other hand, I have to protect my energy, right? Because at the end of the day, I already understand the dynamics. I understand the geopolitical context of situations. And so rather than to risk putting my son in a hostile environment and engaging in a fight that I don't have the strength to keep up with, I just say, okay. And I'm teaching my son to advocate for himself. So if he feels like somebody is doing something to him that is not acceptable or makes him feel uncomfortable, that he will speak up. But on the other hand, not really addressing microaggressions or the neighbor that makes a little comment about, oh, what does his dad do? And, my son is my son, so he asks questions like, are you hiring? So my issue, right, he's my child. So my issue parenting with the illness is not the most difficult part. It's not even the illness, it's dealing with people on the outside. Because my son understands me and what I'm going through, because on the one hand, yes, I want to shield him from everything, right? Because I still want him to have that protection that children should have. I don't want him to have adult worries while he's a child. But at the same time, I can't lie to him. I need to let him know, look, I'm not feeling well. And that's the hard part, is that I know that he worries because there's no getting around it. I had surgery in December and I had post complications from it. And I'm in the bed 16 hours and I can't get around that. I can't hide it. I can't fake a smile. I can't pretend I didn't brush my teeth. I didn't get up and shower.
Yeah. So sometimes it's just, it is what it is. And that is the best of the day.
Right.
So
So that's the hard part. But the other part is that I've been able to organize myself a little bit, and I have a deep freezer. So I always have a soup that's available for him. There's always some kind of protein in the freezer and some kind of rice or pasta dish that has been frozen.
Preparation is key. Yes.
So I have something. I always have something that he can get, even if I'm not able to put together something on the spot for him, that he can help himself. But also, he's 11. He can walk 400 yards to the market and grab himself what he needs to get, if need be. Not that I want him to have to do those things for him. As a mom, I love feeding my child, especially as an African woman. We enjoy hosting. That is something that is part of the culture. And I wish that I could do more of that. But I can, I can't extend that to everyone, right? Even Jay knows, right? He knows how I am. So I don't have to explain, right? And so when I have, but the part of parenting is hard is when Bade says, oh, well, can my friends from, no, Jay, your only friend that's sleeping over, because Jay knows me. Jay understands me. And I don't have the energy to be trying to explain. I can't do it.
It just becomes too much.
But I
totally
feel bad
understand.
because I want him to still be able to make those connections and have those close relationships with other people, but I just can't broker them.
No, I get, well, firstly, and this is autoimmune aside, I'm just not a fan of overnights.
Yeah.
It has to be somebody like super trusted, but that's a whole nother episode.
No, I agree.
But yeah, just that energy, that extra energy. And for you, it's like Bade's ask of, school friends. With me, it was my niece, and I love my niece, but I was just like, yo, I don't have it. And if I don't have it, I cannot push myself to do it.
Right.
Sweetie pie, and they're at ages where they're semi-independent, but even just that extra, I just don't have it. I just don't have the extra push. But you brought up this whole thing about outside, right? So how have you had to redefine this showing up, right? What that looks like in your family. Wow. Especially you said you're African.
Yes.
And that comes with a lot of celebrations. It's very familial. And yeah, there are some unique expectations culturally that even I have to say as an African American woman, I don't have to deal with necessarily.
So it's funny, right? Because I don't look how I feel most of the time, right? And one of the things we do in our culture, when you meet somebody who is an elder, you kneel down to greet them, or at least curtsy to my joints don't always do that, right? And so somebody who actually doesn't know what I've been through may look at me and think that I'm being arrogant. And I can't really kneel for you because I might not be able to get up. I could drop it down, but to pick it back up, we might have some problems. So things like that. But also family events. I have 6 siblings. Somebody's getting married, somebody's graduating, somebody buying a house, somebody just had a baby. Somebody's doing something, always, right? And I try to be there as much as possible. But I'm grateful because my siblings are in the trenches with me. So my siblings are my extended family, but how can I put it? So let's just say my siblings are my immediate family. Let's call it that way, right? I don't have an issue for the most part with my immediate family. Sometimes, I have a sibling that kind of feels like, oh, I could do a little bit more than I'm doing. That feels like I should show up more than I show up, but that's because that's how that person shows up, right? But generally, within the 6 of us, my siblings, we have an understanding, but we do also have a push and pull because I know that I do have a sibling who kind of feels like you gotta keep pushing. You gotta keep pushing. And I know that continuing to push is what got me where I am. And so now I'm learning to say, there's a place for pushing, right? And there's a place for resting so that I'll be able to push again. And that I need to honor that. And sometimes you need somebody to push you so that you go further. And that voice of, you can do it, you must do it, I'm cheering for you, is there because that idea is not coming from a place of hatred. It's not coming from a place of, I want to run you down. It's coming from a place, I'm winning. I want you to win too. You have to win too. My win is not a win because you're not winning yet. So I understand that it's coming from that, but I have accepted that my win might not be a house that's on an acre, on an acre of land. That win might not be that trip to Cartagena. It might not be that trip to Greece. My win might just be going to the park with my son.
In that, I hear grace. I hear a lot of grace. So where have you learned to extend that grace to yourself? And where are you still struggling?
I'm not sure that I learned it. Well, I learned it, but I'm not sure that I understood it, right? Mm-hmm. So what's the difference between learning and understanding? Learning is having that knowledge, but understanding is the application. And I have not. I'm still
Still work in progress.
I'm still working to understand that grace. And even as I'm talking to you now, my doctor said, I'm going to help you with this lesson. You are not ready to go back to work. Your body hasn't fully recovered. You must recover first, and you can't worry about anything else. Recovery is your priority, and you have an entire family that is supporting this recovery. So irrespective of any excuse that you're giving to continue to burn yourself out, you don't have to, and I'm not going to let you. So I've learned, but now I'm starting to understand, and that understanding is coming by force.
I got it. I got it. Again, you get those cycles of I'm just going to push through.
And my doctor said no.
Just a little while longer, right? I'll put that in air quotes, right? Mm-hmm. Just a little while longer. And it does take sometimes an outside person like, no, there is no just a little longer. We've hit our cap in this. Because one of the things that I know in my own experience is kind of operating in, I'll just do this for just a little while. In my last position where I worked for someone, mm-hmm. that is kind of how I went into it. I was kind of excited, in the extent that, okay, I'm not working clinic, right? I'm not the therapist, I'm supporting kind of this next phase that I saw myself in anyway. I'm the one supporting, pouring out, help mold, shape the next generation. However, the position just required much more than I could give. Mm. And if I'm honest, it was much more than I could give, even if I was healthy.
But I felt like they kept coming up with new things.
But in positions like that, that's what it is. There is no normalcy. And I didn't know that. Kind of when you've never been in a position like that, you think like you got that it was gonna be this and this. No, there was no. But I think any executive job is going. Wow. I could be wrong, but I truly believe any executive job, hoodwinking is part of it. You know what I mean? The line is always going to change the target, the expectation, the need, and there was no off. And for me, especially this season of my life, I needed an off. Mm-hmm. There was no, okay, I'm in my house now, I can just exhale. No, there was no off at night, no off on the weekends. You thinking about on Sunday and maybe even late Saturday, what Monday is going to, that doesn't,
you can't heal under those circumstances.
Girl. And so my body, right? Talk about stress. My body was showing out in all types of ways.
Right.
I mean, all types of ways. I bring that up to say kind of that thought that, just a while longer. In June, I left that position. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm still recovering from it.
Wow.
Because what I've noticed...
Like this, you're 6 months out now.
No. But what I've noticed with autoimmune disease...
is cumulative?
Is that even that push, that extra push... Uh-huh. The recovery from that is not as instant as maybe it used to be.
Wow.
In a different season and time of life. And my inflammation number soared and still has been like high. And yes, we're talking about 6-7 months later.
Wow.
And so I have learned there is no just push it through just a little while longer. Because the recovery is not instant, nor do I know the timeline for said recovery or if I will fully recover from it.
Wow.
Stabilization is key with all of this, right? To prevent the prognosis, changing, becoming more progressive and more debilitating and all these things that we just don't want, right?
Right.
And so, So I admire your doctor. Sometimes we can self-correct, right?
But I don't think
that grace.
If he didn't give that to me, Do you get what I don't have?
Yeah.
I don't have any
If
sick
given
days.
to you, you'd be in the school. You'll be in the classroom on Monday.
Right. And I don't have any more sick days, right? So the reality of it is you're telling me to rest, right? And yes, the reality is that my body needs to heal. I went through something very traumatic. I'm physically recovering, right? And I have data to prove and evidence to prove that my body, right, has not fully recovered, right? There are metrics for that. But the reality of the fact is that I have bills to pay. And I think that what makes recovering from autoimmune disease even more stressful if you're not financially independent, I guess, or financially wealthy, or like...
It is expensive to be sick. Right. I'll say it that way.
Right. It makes it difficult because now you're constantly choosing, right? And I feel like you don't win on either side. So it's either I choose my health, my physical health, right? I'm choosing to take care of myself. But now my mental health, I'm doing mental gymnastics because I was like, ooh, I need to pay this bill, but I also probably need a massage, right? And the massage is something I need. It's helpful, right? My joints hurt. I had a stroke. That's one of the things that happened to me, right? My joints hurt. I need a massage, but I also have a bill. So I get my massage and I don't have any phone. I guess I could use Wi-Fi. Yeah. We on WhatsApp now.
And now you bring, I was gonna say, and not for nothing, you speak about the plight, even outside of autoimmune disease. Now you talk about the plight of so many people and just the expense of healthcare here in the U.S.
It's very expensive. And I always say this, that I'm only here, well, I'm here because of God, but I'm here because I have family, I have friends that are willing to take care of me, right? That will make me a smoothie, that will take me to the doctor, that'll take my son to his appointment, that'll say, oh, what bill do you still have? If not for that, my life would be very different.
Absolutely.
Most people don't go through what I went through and are able to keep their earthly possessions.
There is no going through this. Let me reframe what I'm about to say. It is important for anyone dealing with autoimmune disease or any chronic illness to have support.
Right.
And I know some people, unfortunately, don't have that immediate support. Mm-hmm. And so
where can people find it?
Well, gotta get creative, because I'm not going to sit up here. Support is important. I'm not going to be in an island through something like this.
But it's hard because people don't get it, right? People, for the most part, unless you've experienced it, they don't get it.
And that's why I said some support. And sometimes support is, a focus group.
Wow.
Sometimes, and you don't even have to go in these days in the land of technology. Mm-hmm. They have Facebook groups and all this other stuff. So it's important to find support. If somebody has like a faith center, you know what I mean? Whatever they believe in, that can be
an anchor.
An anchor, because you have to be anchored to something.
Because imagine not feeling well and then being worried about what I'm going to eat.
Exactly. You have to be anchored to something. And I acknowledge that it is a privilege when you don't have to think so hard about it. But equally, we have to get creative. Mm. We have to get creative in what support looks like.
I feel like there needs to be some kind of grant, something.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of times those grants don't apply to women who are well educated. And like basically for anybody to help you, you have to have fallen behind on your mortgage like 6 months or whatever. Like,
yeah, and I'm not even talking.
No. I mean, the thing about it is, one, mm-hmm. if my security in terms of where I'm going to live is threatened, if my livelihood in terms of what I'm going to eat is threatened, like,
I got time to be sick. I got to go to work. Absolutely.
Right. So then my health is going to go at the bottom.
We saw that, unfortunately, that disparity played out horribly but vividly during COVID. Right. We saw it. We know what it looks like. And so, support is important to build systems, which you talked about, earlier. And again, it could be schools and churches and community spaces, like really reframing what community looks like. They ain't got to be a tribe, right? Because everybody can't be close to us. But
right.
Like you said, it's helpful to know where the resources are.
Right.
Right. What do you want another parent with an autoimmune disease to hear, especially one that feels like they are failing?
So life is a pop quiz. Some tests you will pass and some of them you will fail. And there's some days that I failed that test. And I tell myself, it's okay. I'm not going to get everything right. Even under the most perfect conditions, we make decisions that we later regret. So how much more you that are battling for your life? Sometimes things happen. For example, around Christmas time, I was in the hospital and my son's school requested a family picture for their Christmas slide. And I was in the hospital, and when it was due, I was not even really cognizant of what was going on. I had multiple procedures and surgeries. So I could not even think of that. But I had been released from the hospital early enough to go to the Christmas event at my son's school. And I realized my son was one of the kids that didn't have a family photo for their Christmas slide. And my son said, "Mom, you're still here." He said, "Mom, Christmas is not canceled. You're still here." And that, I felt relieved, right? Because, hey, I screw everything up, but God, thank you for keeping me. I was still alive, And I felt like a loser because I was thinking to myself, oh my God, my boy is one of the few kids who does not have a family photo. And it's not like me and his dad can't get together and get this picture. Like, we have pictures. We take pictures all the time. But it was not at the top. His dad was not thinking about that either. I was in the hospital. So that was like the last. But that in that moment, I was crushed. I felt like a failure. But my son, my little angel, reminded me, "Mom, I don't care about no photos. You're here."
I felt that completely. I cannot tell you how many times I have been feeling like really bad, similar to you, feeling like I failed or I just cursing almost that I can't show up the way I would like to show up. And Jay will say the simplest things and
it melts my heart. I say, you make a thug cry.
Seriously, it just, what the Bible say, out of the mouth of babes.
Yeah.
Truly, there are many a days that Jay has said something to me and has breathed life into me. Mm-hmm. I gave him life. I pushed him here, but there's many a days just by the simplicity of how his mind connects and relays information.
But the things we think they want, they don't even want that.
Nope.
And if you even look at how Bade and Jay play, they're not asking, can I have this? Can I have... They don't even care about that. I don't see Jay...
You know what is Jay's greatest joy?
What's that?
Playing Uno. Mommy, can we play Uno? I kid you not. Uno.
So the things that we think that we're not giving them, they don't even want. What do they want? Mm-hmm. They want our time.
They want presence.
They want our attention.
They want presence. And it doesn't, oftentimes presence is not just these big gushes of, even like earlier when I was talking about fatigue and tired. And like my son is not expecting his mom to, race him down the block. He's not asking me that, right? He's like, "Mommy, can we play Uno with his dad?" He's like, "Daddy, can we play some chess?" Those types of things.
Right.
So
sometimes our expectations of ourselves are unrealistic and we're adding unnecessary stress and angst.
Absolutely. If you could speak to your pre-diagnosis self as a parent, what would you say?
You're not going to get it right all the time and live. Just be, and I think just letting things go. My pre-diagnosis self was so concerned about control and order. And now I understand that the order of the day is the order of the day. I don't always have the ability to control it. And sometimes I'm making life happen, and sometimes life is happening to me. And it is what it is, and it's okay too.
So I got some quick prompts for you.
Okay.
So just like rapid fire.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
I feel most like a good parent when
My son is happy.
one thing autoimmune disease has changed about my parenting is
I listen more to my son.
I've had to release the idea that a good parent always
Shows up.
I'm learning to give myself grace when
I'm tired.
rest as a parent with chronic illness feels
Like a luxury.
I wish people understood that parenting with autoimmune disease is
Stressful, unpredictable. Because for me, I could be at the hospital today or I could be home. I never know what's going to happen, so it's unpredictable.
Here's one. When people say, you don't look sick, I feel
irritated.
My child has taught me blank about living in a body with limits.
Joy is free. Embrace it.
Autoimmune disease has forced me to redefine strength as
resting.
Despite everything, I'm proud of myself as a parent because
I'm willing to surrender to the fact that I can't always do everything. And I ask for help, right? So I'll ask Bade's dad to help me. I will say, I can't do this. And that's something that autoimmune disease has forced me to recognize when I need help and to say I need help.
Yetunde Araromi, I thank you for sitting with me today, having this very important conversation, a conversation that we started actually when we began recording for the documentary, The Invitation.
I think we started way before that.
We probably started before that, exactly. But I think as far as like really getting into the bolts, the nuts and bolts of parenting with autoimmune disease, even though that we didn't cover, through the documentary, I just knew then, even though I was behind the camera, that this is an important conversation and it has to be an intentional conversation.
I agree.
Anything else you want the audience to know?
I think the main thing is that what is right for me may not be right for you. And that all of us have unique challenges that come with our illnesses. And no matter what your illness is, there is something that is working in your favor. You just have to find it. You have to figure out what is actually going well for me. Is this the doctor that is helpful? Is this a neighbor that is helpful? You just have to figure out those things that are working for you. Because everything is not broken. Something works. You just have to find it.
What I will quickly add to that, you're absolutely right. What I would add to that is to say, don't be afraid of the change. Because change is going to be the only consistent thing in this journey. And so, like you said, the doctors, the neighbors, the friends, the medicines, or whatever, know that they may work and be part of your treatment plan.
Right now.
But don't be worried when and if that has to change. That too is part of the journey. And it is the journey to living well, even with an autoimmune disease. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for spending this time with us on All Things Well. As you go about your day, I hope something from today's conversation stays with you, encourages you, or invites you to care for yourself in a new way. Remember, being well isn't one thing, it's all the things. Until next time, may your hope be full and may you be well.